Is this for me?
Yep.
You're so good.
The 59 will give it another minute or so. Tim didn't say he wasn't able to make it, so soon he'll be showing. And I'd really like to keep this meeting as
Sure,
short
let's
as
go.
possible tonight. My sister's visiting and I'm working all this week and I had hardly any time to see her, so I
Well,
want to get home.
We can do it.
Where's she visiting from?
She lives in Cody, Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They've got a great little horse farm out there. Yeah.
A little horse farm.
They do have.
Like
little
every
ones.
horse farm.
No, they don't.
Everything out there is big.
There's plenty of big ranchers, but this is not one of them. All right, I say let's get going. Okay. So I'm gonna call the meeting to order by reading the following. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and it will be broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel and uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on the notice. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. So we don't have Tim on remote, do we?
No, I don't have anybody.
Okay, so we can just do regular. So in attendance tonight, we have Karen Menard, Colleen Shapiro, Chris Sullivan, myself, Anita Shipers, and at the table, we also have Angela Clement, our Recreation Director, with us. So, first agenda item, Facilities Director update. Chris was not able to be here tonight after all. He apologizes. But one of the things he had planned to talk to us about tonight was the capital projects. So I put this on as a new added agenda item, under the amended agenda, because he wanted a little bit more clarification. We, had asked him basically to continue with the existing list that we had before. And, he is prepared to do that, but it also, we had also asked him to look into the Northfield Road survey and design. And he was saying that, those things that are on the list are the, Marshall Pond and the town beach at the, Whalum Lake, and that's the hydro raking at those two ponds. Then we have the McNally Park redesign and survey, that's a schematic level design. And then there was the Northfield Road survey and design. So I just wanted reconfirmation tonight of what we want to have him reiterate on the ongoing capital plan for this coming year for consideration and review. And provide him a little bit more detail on the McNally, and if we want to keep that Northfield Road on it, give him a little bit more detail on that as well. So, thoughts?
I don't have. This wasn't what was on my brain for tonight, so I'm a little scattered in my thoughts. I do think the Northfield should remain on there. What more detail did he want?
Well, we basically said, just kind of a road survey and design, so that would be a early schematic design, 25% design. But what exactly are we hoping that could be potentially included there?
Were we looking to have that on there as, not as something that would, I mean, if money falls from the sky, but not as something that would necessarily be considered for this year, but to have something so you see what is coming, that's something we're gonna
Their,
prioritize.
their capital, capital projects there, are they looking to create a 10-year plan? Yes, they're looking to create a
That's
10-year
what I
plan.
thought, so that's
So,
not something
it
that
wouldn't
we'd
be-
necessarily be looking at for this year, so how much? I guess what I'm saying is, if that's the case, what level of detail do we?
What year do we want
Need
it to
to
aim
is-
out toward?
Right, and whatever, right?
Yeah,
So,
25% is probably a shorter time period. But in the grand scheme of a 10-year plan, it's a complete, it's a complete project. Whatever that project is gonna be, whether,
Fields or
like
whatever.
open space fields, a disc golf thing, or whatever it may be.
so if we think back to Marshall Park started in 2021, early 2021, late 2020, early 2021. So that was a good 3-year to get us to where we are right now. I would,
Road.
I would think Northfield would actually be longer, because there's nothing there.
mm,
So, I think, I don't know.
I picture the design being simpler though, like I
Yeah.
know that we're talking about.
If he's
You know,
looking for a 10-year
courts and-
plan though, like, would we be looking for 5 years, have the, Northfield Park, the schematic be 5 years from now, and then I would assume if we started the schematic that we'd be looking to keep rolling into each other, so, would year 5 be the start of it and finish completion in year 10? Is that the kind of information he's looking for?
yeah, and I'm not even sure that he would require that we, even say, what, if we're looking 5 years from now, if we only, give him at least that information, but tell him that we're looking for it to basically do a schematic design of potential for the field, including a lot of open field use. But if there was anything more specific also that we should reference that might be considered feasible or desirable there.
So I think probably initially, it's almost even. Like it's like an open discussion to how what we think would be over there to develop a schematic design. In my mind, it's always been like a pavilion thing, maybe restrooms and open space fields, and then depending on what the land looks like, you could throw in, disc golf and things of that nature.
Tim, we're talking about
Small-
Northfield Park over on Northfield.
A small sort of, just, I don't know, it's a 9-hole, without really knowing the full scope of the land and so forth,
Okay,
and what, but, is it a 9-hole disc golf thing, or is there a few disc golf holes, or like, what does that look like? But in my mind, it's always been open space, open rectangular, multi-purpose, field use that I think could serve a value, obviously serve a value for the town use, but I think it's also an opportunity for the town to be able to generate revenue, as well. I think
It's a sizable plot.
It's a sizable plot. I don't know how many, I don't know how many fields you could put in there and kind of do, but I think certainly could be a spot that could generate some revenue.
yeah,
I would think.
okay, any other comments? Okay, all right. How about the McNally Park? So he has it listed as McNally redesign and survey. So what had been previously discussed about McNally?
So it's parking, I think, or kind
So
of
parking and
organizing the parking.
And at one point in the discussions that we had started to have of where to put a T-ball field, it was trying to see if we could, that's an odd shaped piece of property there, see if we could fit a T-ball field, and whether or not we could come work with, the water district has 2 parcels over there that sort of connect into there. They're not looking to sell them to us, but there may be some opportunity to use them. But is that, whether or not that's still needed, because I know that T-ball moved up to here, up to School Street, they may be looking to continue there, I don't know.
So it's a question of whether it's feasible and even if it's even still needed.
In the long run, it's probably needed, it probably helps with the ease of things for parents, I would suspect, if there's more than one ball field in
Yeah.
one spot, if there's kids are playing, different ways, and so it's probably I think in the long run, it makes more sense to, if feasible, to put the T-ball field there. Just to kind of condense and,
Yeah.
there's a snack shack there, there's, usually they drop a porta potty there, so it's not an additional porta potty or something else, it's.
McNally is the park that the snack shack that's still there could use some attention.
Yes, they took the top level off.
Yeah, they took the top level off, that left just the snack shack. They did, that field in general, I think just needs
So overall
some
renovation.
overall work done, as does Fitzgerald, because it's
I think the fence itself looks okay.
at Fitzgerald.
No,
Oh,
at
at
the
McNally,
McNally,
yeah.
the fence itself, it looks like
Yeah.
it's in good, good condition right now and stuff like that, but I think the dugouts seem to be pretty okay. But probably touch-ups and.
Okay, and the timing of this, is this something that we would like to have?
Yesterday,
So, so it's definitely the hydro raking for the two,
I think that would be absolute at the top.
that's first priority?
Yeah, in my opinion, that's the first priority after, I guess I still don't quite understand what's taking so long to get that done.
Okay, so what I think I'm hearing people say then is that the hydro raking is our number one priority. Number two would be the McNally Park. And then third would be putting the Northfield Road parcel in for 4 to 5 years from now as a schematic design, 25%. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Northfield continues to be a huge priority for me, that's in my mind, it's sooner the better, kind of, and I know we're in the middle of Marshall, and so we'll probably sooner, that's another yesterday need for me when they took possession of that land 8 years ago now, whatever it was, and they said, this is years down the line. Even back then, it can't be years down the line, it's a need for this town.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion on those priorities?
So, sure, I can motion to, put forward the priorities that Anita just read.
As
As stated, don't make me
Second.
repeat.
I was second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, yes, okay, thanks. Okay, recreation director update, we have a few things that Angela has been updating us on. I didn't have a chance to look at them all, but.
No,
why
no
don't you
problem
walk
at
us
all.
through it.
Yeah, so I'll just give you like a little bit of kind of what's running right now, what we have starting, all that stuff. I did go ahead and request the school lets us use a classroom, so I'm able to run 2 programs consecutively. We haven't started that yet, so I don't know how well that's gonna go, or if I feel like that's gonna be too tough to do at the same time. But we do have that option now, and we're gonna be doing that primarily like voting and when pickleball starts, stuff like that. So right now, Mondays I have art programs running. We have ones for like, 1st to 7th grade. We've had them come in before. It's the Painted Goat. It's the resin art class, so it's going really well so far. It just started this past Monday. Then we also have an adult one that happens right afterwards. Wednesdays, I actually just left TCP, so we have a Snapology program running, which is just the STEM programs that we run with them. Pretty low in numbers, but we have enough to run both of them. I think it might just be more like everyone's getting back in the swing of school and stuff like that. Cause we also have them coming back in November. We'll be using a classroom at that point just cause pickleball is gonna be starting. So at that point, we already have kind of as many registrations as we have for this session. So I think it's just kind of getting back in the swing of things. Pickleball will start November 6th. Both sessions are already sold out. So both are full, which we capped at 17. So basically we'll be running one for 6 weeks from the 6th of November until December 18th. We'll take a little break for the holidays. And then on the 8th of January, we'll start a second session. Those run from 3 to 5 o'clock, so I've had a lot more requests for nighttime pickleball. So I do have something in there kind of for the works of trying to do that. The issue that I sometimes run into is having somebody to coach the beginners. I do have that for like the afternoon one, so Dawn at the school actually does that for us. But she can't do nighttime too, which is completely understandable. So I did ask her if she had any suggestions in terms of having anyone volunteer. What we did last year is basically cover the fee for whoever's coaching, so they don't have to pay to play. And also locking up the school, so Anna helped me a lot last year do that. Wednesdays, I'll be here kind of anyways, and like I said, I can run like programs in the classroom, so I can make it so I have to be there later anyways. But typically that one, at least last year, I think it ran to like 9:30 p.m., which is a little late for me. So, just keeping that in mind, if like anyone can volunteer to help like close some nights, that might be helpful. I was thinking Wednesdays would be great for that. And just the only other program I really have going on this fall so far is, we had them come in, it's Science Heroes. We did a free for residents. It basically runs for grades K through 5th. They just have to sign up still, fill out the waiver form, everything like that. But it's a dry ice, like STEM show. So it's very like interactive for the kids. So that was a big hit last time we did it. So that's basically what I have going on so far. I'm still working on some stuff for the winter, so I'll get there once I figure out the rest of this fall. There was a few things, so one of the things I emailed to you guys earlier today was the park signage. So good idea for Chris, to do maybe like a QR code that just has like more of our rules, regulations. So people can just scan it, because obviously you can't fit everything you need on one sign. So if you guys wanna take a look at that, just give me your feedback, let me know, so we can start trying to get those out for the fields. It basically just has, like, we run it, our email has the park's email, the hours of operation, the address for it, and if it's carrying, call 911, carry in, carry out policies for the fields or the parks, whatever we're doing it for. So that's just one thing. I think one of the only other things that I'll bring up is Chris Ruth mentioned possibly looking into what we'd have to do liability wise if we decided to do like an ice rink at Wallace Courts, because it's already like, set up for that basically. I looked into a few different companies for it, so it's anywhere ranging from like 1,500, but that like makes you supply your own wood and stuff, or like the easy rinks that has everything, it's like 2,500 for like a kiddie size. I didn't go and measure like how big the court is to see what size would really fit in there. But it's anywhere from like 2,500 to like $6,000 to do something like that. I don't know if that's something we'd have to have like specific liability for, have people fill out waivers. I don't know if that's something that would fall
So
under
I can
Who
tell
is it?
you,
that too.
Yeah,
If it's side waivers, like you use side waiver.
Yeah, I
And how
think.
to shovel it and stuff, right? Or
I
sand
think
rubber or
so,
something
yeah.
too.
I think also note now that we have Al that also works under Chris, I think that's really helpful because he's been super on top of everything. So I think we have a little more manpower this winter than we had last
so
year.
Devon's is probably the best example I can give you, which
Okay.
is they're just open to all, that you don't have to sign any liability forms or anything like that. All of that said, I was 100% in favor of an ice rink at either Marshall or Wallace for years until this past year.
Okay.
When I looked at Devon's, and the reality was they were closed more than they were open because of the temperatures. And the
Oh,
question
okay.
then becomes,
Yeah.
is it too much, I don't wanna say it's too much work, but it's going to be man hours. Because what happens is once that stuff starts to melt,
Right,
if anybody tosses a snowball, it creates lumps in the, as they
Yeah.
start to refreeze. So, I don't know if it's, I think if you went to Devon's Recreation and scrolled back on this past season, you can see when they were open and closed.
okay,
I think I would just say, look at that and make sure, number one, we have the manpower to support the care of the ice rink as we,
Okay.
but also make sure would be worthy of our time.
Okay.
Because winter is so unpredictable.
yeah. The only thing I'm thinking is obviously if it's in good enough shape, I assume it can be used multiple years, I would hope.
Yes, yes,
So that's
absolutely, yeah.
that's the only plus side is, you know, this winter may not be great, but then the next winter could be
Yeah.
freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to think about.
Speaking of skating and signs, then maybe since you're doing signs, it may be a good opportunity to consider putting one at Marsh Pond
Okay,
by the dog pound, just skate at your own
Risk.
risk kind of
okay.
deal.
Yeah, I felt through there.
So
Oh, no.
they do go out there, and it wasn't a great winter, but they were, you know, there are people out there for a few weeks. Kind of deal, and we do have there are, really heavy old, hockey cages, goals that are down somewhere at DBW
Oh.
and benches.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's good to know.
Pat and I had commandeered those back from the old parks, facility, like years back, so they're literally made out of like chain link fence and road signs, like
Oh, wow.
they're super heavy.
Yeah. So gonna
But
need some assistance.
they do exist,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're not
but if
going-
if you're doing signs, you might as well do a sign for.
Okay.
For there, I would think at the same time.
That's a good
So
idea.
go that way.
QR code's a really good idea.
The only suggestion I had on the sign, I was looking at it yesterday, was flip flopping the park is closed from sunrise to sunset and the dial 911 just,
Problem.
yeah, put park is closed because at McNally Park and then it's just the operating hours and I don't know.
Mhm.
I thought the dial 911 is, it's a given, obviously, but it should be on there, but
Just stuff I wouldn't think about, you know?
yeah. I just think having hours, well, I don't know, rules, I guess.
So is the intent to put a sign like this at each of the parks?
Yes.
Is it worth mentioning, what's our, I'm trying to think of our dog policy.
We do have a dog policy.
So I would, that may be the only thing that's worth putting on this sign from a policy standpoint.
Isn't it really like, I know
It's
it's
lengthy.
pretty lengthy, so,
Like a
that,
general sort of.
Or can't we add that in the barcode?
that's what I was thinking, actually, when you said the QR code, I feel like that kind of has more information on it too, right? So that might be
Yeah.
like what we would
Yeah.
use.
Yeah,
So I mean, I think it's on.
Something about the
page.
dog, like, but I feel like mentioning
Yeah,
dogs in some way, like to see our policy,
Okay.
including dogs,
Yeah.
you know, including, you know, dogs. at
There,
parks.
just an FYI on McNally, if you haven't been down there recently, that's the only park of ours that does have trash can receptacles.
okay. Okay. And then one last thing, so this was on the agenda a little bit later, so Josie can't meet with us, she's Lunenburg Business Association. I met with her a few weeks ago and she came up with this idea that she'd like to kind of partner with us on, in terms of doing maybe like an all vendor spring fair. I definitely thought that it was a great idea to kind of bring everything together. She did give me kind of an overview of what she was thinking. And then I discussed kind of like what the parks and like the recreation department would really, be able to do in that. So Chris Ruth also brought up one thing is, he said the area we're looking to maybe do it is that area of land like near the playground where TCP is, so that front lawn area. But not just doing that, extending it to like have TCP open so you can use the bathrooms, gymnasium. Seeing if the senior center, the library, Boys and Girls Club would all be interested in kind of like partnering together. So we have all the parking, restrooms, possibly using that pavilion area outside of the adult center. Just to do like live music or something like that over there. In terms of. What you?
Cody knows a guy.
In terms of what we would be doing for that, any vendor tables or anything like that, obviously they have to go through like the Board of Health and need their certifications, so we'd have to make sure that's all done. But she would be basically going through the Lunenburg Business Association and charging for like vendor tables, because she does. I know she has like certain pricing for members and non-members, so she'd be collecting all of that. That wouldn't be something that we would be doing, but I was thinking we could possibly do stuff to do like bouncy houses for kids, cover stuff like that, maybe we did one program that was like a books with bunnies, so we had bunnies and chicks come in. So that was with Good Pickin' Farm in Westford, I think. So doing something like that, like a goat yoga, petting zoo, things like that. I thought we could probably swing to add to that as well. And face painting. We had a lady do face painting at the beach house one time and she was awesome. So just like stuff like that. We definitely want it inclusive, so all ages. But that's why I was thinking if we have you know, Boys and Girls Club involved, they can do stuff for that age group possibly. The Adult Activity Center, some stuff there. And the only thing Chris Ruth brought up, like I said, is depending on what time in the spring. I guess that grassy area tends to be pretty wet, so we just have to like look out for that. I did think that was the best area for us to do something like
So
this.
we've done stuff there before. The cultural council did a, what was it called? Artisan market.
Yeah, the artisan, yeah.
Artisan market.
Yeah, they did something like that, and it was it was, if I remember correctly, it was well attended, and it
Well
was,
done.
it was a good location for it, I wanna say it was in May. I could be wrong on
Okay.
that, but, you know, depending on how large it is, that,
Laura Brzezowski on the school committee was.
yeah, Laura was a part of that.
Ringleader of that.
Mhm.
Okay, that's good.
But that, Memorial Drive can also be requested to be closed down.
Oh, cool, okay.
Yeah, they do that for the cruise night.
Yes.
Yeah, and we were thinking of maybe doing like a Saturday, just so, I don't know when I know they do like a farmer's market over here, right, on Sundays?
No,
Not anymore.
well, we did not have one this past year.
Okay, so just in case like that, we were thinking of Saturday, just to make sure it doesn't conflict with like any of that stuff going on.
The only
here.
conflicts that end up happening in the spring on Saturdays are sports.
Okay,
Are sports related. Which could affect a good number of people, cause it's everything from. The youth sports, you know,
It's three-
starting at
three
age through,
Spring is 3 through high school.
yep,
Okay.
and then any high school sports that might have a game on Saturdays. so.
Right.
Well, and
Um,
specifically, there would be some. level
And in
of
May-
traffic over at the fields. for
right,
Soccer and stuff too, but people might go to their game and then
And come
go
over.
to the fair, so I don't know that it's.
So I can say,
Yeah.
if Saturday ends up being a day that, if you'd rather do it on, say, Sunday, I can tell you that, even if we have a farmer's market that comes back in town, if you did something in May, that's usually too early for the farmer's market. It usually
Okay.
starts sometime in June.
okay, that's good to know.
What is Memorial Drive? Is that the one that connects like the playground with DCP a little bit?
Yeah.
That little-
It
Yeah,
runs
front of the
in
Boys
by,
and Girls Club.
in front of the Boys and Girls Club and the, Adult Activity Center.
There used to be, I can't remember what it was, there used to be some sort of community fair thing.
The one that's, Stillman's did one
They did one, but there used to be something at the school
with the PTO.
that. I mean, that like the classes and the clubs would go out and have booths.
Yeah, I think that was the one that was run through the PTO.
Okay, and so they could do it as a fundraiser, so like, you know, Latin club would sell whatever, like French club would sell croissants.
Yeah,
Or whatever, or the different classes could do face painting or something like that.
okay,
And they did it as a class fundraiser, and then I don't know, something happened along the line, and I don't know if it was they changed the way this clubs and all of those could fundraise, and that's what happened, or if they just stopped.
Karen looks like she knows.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all I got, that's all I got for you right this second.
Yeah, okay. I just remember that that was kind of cool, and there would be a lot of students and things, so I don't know, maybe that can't happen anymore.
I think it can happen, I think it just needs to be done in a much more, where's our liability way, yeah.
so I think that's part of why Josie kind of wanted to also like have us kind of run it, but she deals with the table stuff, she did mention, like, I think on our part, it wouldn't be so much of like an ask to set up and everything like that, I don't think I could do it by myself.
Yeah.
But, I think if we all put our heads together, it would be easy enough, but she basically was like, everybody would bring their own tables, tents, you know what I mean, so like, we don't have to worry about some of those littler things. But I thought it was a great idea, obviously I haven't been working here that long, but I haven't seen anything similar to that yet.
No.
So I think it'd be,
And that
kind of
would've-
bring everything
What
together.
Colleen's talking about was quite a while ago, it was well
was a
before
long
the
time.
cultural council got involved. And the cultural council had done something and then, it was like the community fair or something like that, and then Stillman's. I don't remember what groups were involved with Stillman's, but Stillman's Farm on Lancaster Ave, they did something one year to try to bring back that community fair
Okay.
type thing. And they did that for 2 years, I think, and, so, yeah, but I think it's a great idea, I think that Josie she's she's got it. Organization of this is,
And I did forward you guys, like, you might not have been able to see it yet, but I did forward you her proposal, so if you wanna go through that, she has more detail in there. And we can always bring her on next meeting if I let her know a little sooner. She's got another.
Groton does Groton Fest in the fall, come up and it's. Oh, it's either this weekend or next weekend, and it's all the little side roads between Hollis and Main Street.
Oh, yeah,
And so they open it up, so like I know like their Trails Commission has a booth. to
nice.
Talk about the trail, so like you could, so like, this could also be something where conservation could come and talk about
Right.
the trail networks in town, and, you know, Lunenburg Youth Soccer could have a table, or lacrosse could have a table, like you could have a true, like kind of really, anyone from the community that wants to advertise their sort of.
Yeah, and I was thinking even the same thing for the rec department, just to like get the word out there, make brochures so people know what.
Yeah.
I've gotten a little bit better at like getting things out there sooner to give people more time, but
Great opportunity to talk about Town Beach, it's gonna be for the summer.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
that sort of-
exactly.
that sort of thing.
So are we looking to try to take action tonight, or do you wanna have us revisit this at the next meeting?
I just wanted to bring it up to you guys. I haven't reached out to, you know, the adult activity center with Girls Club, or the library. I think most of them.
Was it close to you?
Yeah. I think most of them would be interested in doing something. So I hope we don't get a ton of pushback about it, but I think we would all be able to kind of have a benefit to having everybody open at that point.
Yeah.
In terms of parking, restrooms, them being able to just like put their stuff out there as well, whatever activities they want. So I'll email all of them as well and just kind of get there.
So you have us an update at the next
Yep.
one, and then if we feel ready, we can.
Yep.
Make a
Yeah,
decision.
general show of support now, though, I think it's a good idea.
Goat yoga, nice.
Okay, next, I wanted to bring, the invoice approvals up to the next agenda item while we have Angela here, because it's important that she be part of that discussion. So this is a two-part thing. We need to talk about process of how we're gonna move ahead with processing invoices that are associated with the Marshall Park project. All the regular rec department stuff, facilities department stuff, that all happens between you and Chris.
Yeah,
But in terms of the Marshall Park, you know, we're having invoices now that we never had before. We've got the OPM, Skanska invoices that are coming in. We have two to approve tonight. And then we're gonna have, you know, the designing firm, you know, having their invoices. Then when things get going, we'll be having invoices from the construction company, or when we do purchases of equipment that we might be doing off state bidder list or something, you know, like that. So we've got to decide what a viable process is for us to make sure that the committee, the commission is having necessary overview of this. And yet realistic in terms of fitting in with the process that the town has for approval of invoices. So, I had checked with the finance director, and he had said that it's every other Tuesday that invoices can get processed.
yeah,
And, he had said that for most other committees, they can do it one of two ways. They can bring the invoices to the meeting, and there can be, you know, a vote of the committee to approve the invoices, and then we would give them to you for processing.
okay,
Or we can just do it similar to that we did to that, approval of the fund value for the revolving fund, where we just did the DocuSign. So I'd like to have maybe Angela just give a few comments to start off with, because she's the one who's gonna be dealing with most of the logistics with it. So what are your thoughts, Angela?
it's a pretty tight, like painstaking process to get the checks actually sent out. So just quickly, like, so basically I have to make sure the vendor's in our system, which sometimes they're not. If they're not, I need a W-9 from them, and then I have to send it to the accounting and have them add them in. Once that's done, I can put a requisition in for, you know, a certain amount of money. So at that point, it could be more than we actually have or less, but at that point, I need to at least open that, and then the accounting department can either add or take off or do whatever I need at that point. But just that process alone, I would say, probably would take a week and a half, 2 weeks, just to get signed from Chris and per diem town manager and then accounting. So I would say that takes a week and a half
That's the process though, right?
and that's just the start of it. So that's just.
Getting them in the system.
So that's just getting them kind of in the system and me saying like, hey, I'm gonna need to open this amount of money, and Chris saying, yeah, I agree with that. And then everybody else just signing off on it. So at that point, it gets converted to a purchase order, and that's when I can actually take an invoice and use the purchase order and pay the invoice. But depending on when the warrant is from, the accounting department,
Mhm.
if it doesn't fall in that, like, if it just happened and I get it done on Thursday, then it's gonna take another like 2 weeks for that to process. And even then, I don't know how long it takes them to actually issue checks. Cause I don't get anything that says like, well, we wrote a check and we sent it out.
Mm.
So I really have no idea when things are sent out. I can reach out to them and ask, but
Be good to
Again,
know
that's
that
not-
just so that we can let the vendors know what to expect.
exactly, and I've had just even some of the vendors we use for like the programs be like, where's my check? And I'm like, oh, I'll ask for you, but if they don't reach out to me, it's not something I check on.
Right, okay.
So that's just, so I would say all in all, like sometimes it takes like 3 weeks to a month for me to even like get the check sent out.
Okay, so we know, dealing with getting them into the system initially, we know that we've got Skanska, we know that we have RDLA.
And that definitely helps.
So we need to get those two into the system and make sure that they,
Yeah.
are approved vendors in the
Yes.
system. So can you start working on that now?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything from the other company.
RDLA, they haven't sent theirs yet.
They haven't
They,
sent an invoice yet.
they haven't sent, they should already be in our system though, because they're the one who's working on
Good
School
point.
Street.
Okay,
Okay. And sometimes they're under like a completely different name
If,
too.
if it's not under RDLA, it'll be under Ray Dunn
Ray Dunn.
Landscape Architects.
Okay.
so if you could make sure that those two are in there, so at least that part's done.
Would we
And
need an
then-
updated W-9 from, I don't know how that.
Really only if the address is changed. And then I need a completely different like W-9. And I'll have to have another.
That
vendor
really
number.
expired.
Yeah, it shouldn't. I only know that because I had to have a few vendors change their addresses and I had to have them fill out a new W-9. So I'm assuming it's the same for everybody when that happens.
All right, so then the next thing is, how do we get, the timing of getting this committee to approve the invoices? So what we've been asking the vendors is that the invoices get sent to the chair, and you're also copied on them as well?
I got one, but I don't think it came directly from a vendor. I think Chris might have just sent it to me. So I don't know if I'm not getting them directly, but like the Skanska, I had one invoice. I didn't even know there was a second one, so I don't. That's another thing. I think maybe it'd be better to be directly sent to me as well, just because I think sometimes things get lost between them sending it to Chris and then Chris sending it to me or.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask both Skanska and RDLA to send them to you and copy me.
Yeah.
And I think Chris also wanted, so.
Yeah, I
so
agree with
be
that.
Angela, Chair, and Chris. Okay, so that's the second step. Then the third step is we meet on typically the third Wednesday of the month. And so some invoices, if they come in just after that deadline,
Right.
that the finance department, treasurer's department has, I think it was like 3 PM by Monday
Yeah.
before the date. Then it's gonna delay everything by 2 weeks more
Yeah.
than usual. So I think the important thing is, I did ask the finance director, can a committee vote to authorize the chair or maybe 2 members of the committee to approve and sign off on invoices for those odd cycle things? That we just, if we
Right.
can't, we want it to be timely, what if we don't have a meeting that month for whatever reason? And he did not answer me on that one.
So I know that's what we did on the building committee for the high school.
Okay,
But I don't know if things, it's been a while, so maybe things have changed, but I 100% know that's what we did. We authorized the chair, and then I think we had a secondary person in case the chair could.
It does seem like things have changed slightly since the new accountant came in.
and I was trying to do more
Yeah, so things,
process.
things are
improvements.
different. Of course, you know that from having to sign, on the
Right.
revolving account and everything like that.
So do we even need to be going through all that approvals? If it's within the scope of what their contract is with us, they're not billing us outside, like it should all fall to their contract.
But somebody needs to say, yes, indeed, this invoice is in the scope of
Oh, okay.
what they're,
Okay.
you know, we're responsible for paying them for. So, you know, typically it's, you know, the Parks Commission is also the, you know, the committee to oversee this construction project. This
No, that
design
makes sense.
construction. You know, it's not on Chris's shoulders, it's
Yep.
not on Angela's shoulders, so, I think what we should, what I think I'd like to do is suggest that we, you know, try to make sure that we get invoices, on every agenda.
Yeah.
And, you know, there may be some, you know, we don't have any, but at least that's on every agenda.
Right,
So we can cover it. And maybe just to cover ourselves to be safe, even though it might not be viable, if it's not viable, we're not losing anything. But if we vote tonight to maybe authorize one or two of us to, you know, do that approval on those off cycles where it just needs to be done, then it would, you know, at least we'll have that vote taken. You know, and hopefully it is still a viable option to us. So, does anyone want to make a motion about who we'd like to include to have be part of that and for that off-cycle approval?
Definitely not operating.
I agree with that.
I wouldn't even know.
I feel like you know the most about. Oh,
You're pointing that way, right?
the most
You're pointing
people.
at
I'm saying, I feel like Karen is the most, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it, but I feel like you have the
Most not.
most knowledge about everything, and so it would be more useful for you to be
About
looking at.
everything?
About everything.
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 Karen knows the most about everything, and now it's on record.
That's fine. It does, I mean, it doesn't, that's fine. Doesn't matter to me.
I mean,
Somebody else.
presumably it's gonna be a, yep, looks good, you know?
so,
Yeah.
sorry, were you saying that in the terms of like every time we get an invoice, or are you saying
just
just
on-
for?
Only
the-
on an as-needed basis.
Okay, because I don't know when, like, those, I didn't look at when their due dates are, or like, the invoice.
Yeah, they probably passed, to
That,
be
that's
honest.
what I'm saying, I don't want to, like, if the process takes a while, so I don't want to delay it very long, and if we don't have to, but,
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, that none of these vendors are gonna be shocked that a municipal check takes a long time to come.
right.
They all have municipal project experience, yes.
Somebody. who-
As long
So-
as they know it's gonna be a bit of a delay, and that's also
Do-
good.
So I think Chris has, I don't even know if he motioned, he said something, but do those need to be approved tonight too?
Yes,
Okay, so we're looking to do two things tonight, a motion to approve these
These
two
two invoices.
invoices, and then a motion to
Point you
appoint myself and Anita to the as-needed
would be
Pete.
approved.
approvers. So that if an invoice comes in the day after a Parks Commission
Yeah.
meeting, we're not waiting a month
Right,
to even get the
Right.
ball rolling.
Yeah.
So that would, okay, and then we would bring them back to the group and say, we approve these, so here.
It'd be part of the monthly.
report out.
Yeah, just report out.
Okay,
Nice
so,
thing you said, Karen. This is why we're looking at you.
all right, so is that your motion, what she just said?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, second,
Second.
okay.
I'm not even sure I said anything.
You moved. so that's all that-
Karen summed it up very nicely.
Perfect.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now for the specific approval of invoices tonight, we have, the August 2nd invoice. Invoice number ending in 15484-1. This was for, billable hours, from the, Skanska firm. And it is for hours of Dale Caldwell, who's the principal, Tom Doolittle, who is the project manager, and Catherine Stone, who is the admin support. And it's a total of $13,955. Somebody want to move to approve?
I will make a motion to approve.
Okay, all in favor?
Now, hold on, Tim has a question. What's
I was just gonna say off the record, how can we verify that? Do we
So-
take their word for it?
Well, so this is,
Okay.
it's very, yeah.
That's a breakdown, okay, good.
Yeah, there's a very detailed breakdown,
Right.
and,
And Anita and I can confirm to you that they've actually.
yeah, 'cause we've had a lot of communication with them that reflects these hours and numbers.
Got it, all right, I'll be clear.
No, we need these
It's
questions.
a fair question.
Okay, so all in favor?
Uh,
Okay. And then we've got the September sixth invoice ending in number 15517-2. And again, this is for hours from Dale Caldwell, Tom Doolittle, and Catherine Stone. And this one is in the amount of 25,650.
Anita, does that include the 13,000 from the August bill? That we
I
had
feel
paid?
like it probably has both. They would include the past due.
Yeah,
Prior bill, yeah, yes, it does.
okay.
Okay, so bill, okay, so, the total bill was the 25,615, but, billed from prior periods was the 13,955, so the billing for this period is $11,660.
So
So,
really only that one needs to be
So we only
processed.
need to approve one bill.
Which will include.
Yeah.
the-
So do you want to rescind the last motion, Anita?
I'd rather have them be separately
Okay,
done,
that's fine.
and we'll amend the amount of the invoice for
Okay.
this to reflect just the current bill.
Sure, do you need me to do the math? You got it.
So it would be, again, for the September sixth bill and the invoice number ending 15517-2, we approve billing for this period only because the prior period will be paid from a different invoice. And the billing for this period is 11,660.
Motion to approve that.
Okay, second?
One second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay,
Do these become public record and how do they become public record?
They'll get filed with the, accountant's office and if anybody ever wanted them. But I'm assuming we're keeping a file, copies of.
Yeah, I mean, I put it with all of,
Sure.
like, I have all of my invoices, like, I don't have it separate, I can make it
We
separate.
may want this, cause this one, this is gonna be,
actually, anything dealing with Marshall Park, we're gonna need to keep in a file for the purpose of, doing the grant reimbursement stuff.
Okay,
So we're gonna need
keep
to
it
have,
separate.
you know, you might even need to keep them in multiple spaces, one
That's
for your
probably
purpose
what
and
I'll
one for
do.
the grant.
correct,
Folder.
yeah.
Because we'll need to reference each of these specifically when we're
Okay.
doing that reimbursement.
Okay, and then just a, sorry, quick question, so once you guys vote on it and it's approved, I assume you have to let accounting know that you approved it?
I can send
I
an
don't know if,
email
like,
every time.
after
I
the
don't know.
meeting,
See,
you're
this is
gonna-
part of what process
Right.
is involved.
I'm not sure if like after the meeting, I can go ahead and, open a requisition at that point, because you approved it, or if I need to wait until.
No, I think you can
That's true.
probably go ahead and open up the requisition, but I think that once Ezekiel answers your question in the next day or so about having two people be able to authorize it off cycle, I think the picture will be clear, but I
Okay.
believe I think our vote is the okay for you to move
Okay.
forward.
Okay,
And if he has, if he prefers that I confirm that with an email each time, I'll be glad to do it. Just let me know.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, yeah, you're welcome. So those first two to officially process. Okay, do we have any other questions for?
No, I think
Angela?
she should go home.
Keep doing your work. I love all the programming. It's great to see it. It's out there and it's obviously being well attended and, so it's always exciting to see the emails come in.
Yeah.
Postings and.
oh, and this is just a little quick thing, so I sent out a survey today too, just to request more feedback from people. It's a lot of the same feedback I think that I got last time, but this time I kind of was like, is it the time that doesn't work for you? Is this like programs that you don't like and that's why you haven't, tried any, so stuff like that. I'd like to see more participation from like different age groups, so I'm gonna try to like branch out a little bit for winter and figure out a little bit more versatile ideas.
On the, on your class, it just went from, what was it, first grade to seventh grade?
Yes,
Can you consider maybe moving that to eighth grade?
yeah, I think that'd be an
I don't know if you
acceptable
got
thing.
an email, but I got an email. Actually got a text message from somebody.
Okay.
Whose daughter, she wants to do it, but she's in eighth grade, so she's
Yeah, I don't
outside the
think
age
that
group,
would
but
be-
she's not an adult either.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a problem. I think that's the art program, because for that one, she actually was like, oh, we can do 2 different sessions. We can do, K through 3 and then 5 through 7. And I was like, why don't we just like mix them together? Because they are doing the same thing. So I feel like to separate it wouldn't be necessary. I could definitely ask the vendor. I'm not sure why they kept it, because I think eighth grade would be.
And I don't, I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure you're gonna get a ton of eighth grade involvement, but it would be nice for that young lady who,
Yeah,
and I suggested that she, reach out to you. But
I was gonna
clearly
say
she
that
didn't.
usually if,
I'm like, we'll find her a spot in one of them,
right.
but clearly she didn't, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say that if somebody emails me or reaches out, I always ask the vendor and check with them, and most of the time they're pretty,
Okay.
like reasonably
Yeah.
saying yes to let people in, so, I don't see a problem with that.
Okay,
Question, I saw that survey email, is it posted on, like?
I just did a
Facebook
link,
or whatever?
cause I just did it when I was at TCP for the other program, so, I can definitely do that, I can post it every.
Just sort of inquire.
Yeah,
If you want that, like if,
Yeah.
how much data you actually want.
I guess in theory, as much as I can get.
Do we need to sign those invoices?
I don't think,
why don't we do at least initial one? to
Yeah,
say
we can do that.
Okay.
you don't need that there.
Let's just pass around the table quickly before.
Yeah.
Writing utensil, please.
But I am thinking with us being able to use a classroom space and the gym, that we're gonna have a really busy fall, winter and spring, so I think that will help us a lot.
I can probably help with locking up on
Okay.
Wednesday nights, as
Yeah.
long as there's not too much involved.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there's,
definitely ask.
there's really not, and,
Depends on sports schedules or.
Just how do we get a key to
Practice
lock
and
it up?
that.
So it looked like across the street was bike over it.
we almost all live across the street.
I really appreciate that everyone's so willing.
Yeah.
I live about half an hour away, so.
All live within half a mile.
And I'm gonna do the next 3 Mondays, so.
Yeah, I appreciate that, thank you, that's very
I was
helpful.
gonna say, when, you were mentioning that,
Really is
I
nice.
think
Did you do
someone-
that?
No, I didn't,
Yeah.
we read the
with
same thing.
pickleball, she was helping
Yeah,
coach and stuff, does that have to be someone of the town that can volunteer to coach, or can it be anyone?
I feel like within reason, it kind of can be anyone, I can double check with that. It's more just like trying to figure out who's interested.
Oh, yeah,
in
I'm not saying
doing it.
I wanna do it by any.
Are you
means.
sure?
I'm saying like. maybe-
Sounds like you were volunteering.
Or someone from the league, maybe can,
I definitely agree with that, I think that'd be fine. What we did last year, because we also did volleyball as well last year, which I'm gonna do that as more of a winter thing a little bit later on.
Sure.
Which I haven't sorted out those dates. We kind of had one person be like head coach, and then we always had, a secondary type of coach, just in case somebody couldn't make it. The issue we also ran into last year was with the gymnasium, they didn't wanna leave the door propped open. So we had to have the janitor or like somebody there, like crack open the door and like wait for them to knock and let them in.
Hmm,
So the process of like making sure somebody's actually there to open it, thank you.
We can't use just the actual gym door versus the,
That's what we were doing and they were not letting us leave the door
Who's
propped
they?
open, the school.
okay, so this,
They were saying it was,
Okay.
an issue with safety.
okay, so let's have the conversation offline. We can involve Chris. That is not a school building. That is a town building that is managed by our select board. So the school really has no say in that. So let's work with them to try to make it easier
Right.
on our whole program going forward, and if we have to squeak the wheels, I'm happy to do so. But there's no reason why that door from the outside to just the gym
Right,
can't be propped with something so that, or left unlocked so that people can come and go. Those people that are in the gym are gonna see people coming
Yeah.
and going.
well, and there was a big issue last year where like the custodian wasn't in that day and nobody let, I think there was a soccer program using the gym every week. And one day, there's just nobody let them in, and they buzzed, nobody would let them in, I think it was like a 6:30 to 8:30, so maybe everybody left. But
Futsal.
yeah, futsal, soccer, like same thing with volleyball, like I was getting calls on my day off, cause it was Tuesdays and Thursdays. And people would be like, nobody's here to let me in, and obviously at that point, I'm 30 minutes away, so I'm not gonna drive here on my day off to let people in, but. It definitely messed up our ability to let people in and use the gym without.
Yep.
any
So let's,
issues.
let's work together with it and we'll figure out who we need to talk to on the town side. Especially with,
Right.
in light of some of the newer information that's,
Yeah,
come up. So let's, I'll help you with that.
thank you.
Thank you
Get it
both on
prepared.
that. That's good. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
In person.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Maybe more often, I think, on Wednesdays, I'll be here late anyways. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, Boys and Girls Club Polar Plunge. Hi.
Yeah, do you wanna come up, Katie?
Yeah,
You don't, have to- you can come wherever.
I'm gonna bring my notebooks.
Go right ahead.
You had some questions for me, I think at the last meeting, so I just wanted to do an update real quick and then see, I think there's some other questions that I had.
Okay.
Just to understand, because I'm new to the area, so I gotta make sure I have the right connections, to speak with, if it happens, so. There was something that had come up with Chief Sullivan in regards to the two different beaches. There's the town beach and then there's the other one that's owned by the.
It's owned by, what's the name? Arrive Lunenburg.
Okay. So if it's done at one or the other, if it's done at the town beach, I need to reach out to the town official to figure,
It'd be,
that would,
the
okay,
town beach would be
The
part.
town beach is us,
okay,
and then if it's on Arrive Lunenburg, it would be, you'd have to deal with Arrive Lunenburg.
okay, so I'd have to have their permission to do it.
I would think either way, you're gonna wanna involve the, fire chief.
Yeah, he's on board, he's willing to have what we need for emergency services, and then, let's see, so that will just be kind of a logistic thing that we'll have to figure out which one we wanna do. He had said Arrive would be better in terms of parking, because if you go into the town beach, then we're looking at having police probably detail and parking issues, and so but I don't know if there's a,
I don't wanna dispute what our fire chief says, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, we do have swim lesson wise, where they park along the road, both sides of the road. Arrive Lunenburg does have a lot, but it's not a big lot,
okay,
so I
But there
think
is the parking there.
there is
along
there
the
is
waterfront.
along the
Walk
waterfront. So if
right
that's what he's thinking, and then
Mhm.
walking over, there might be some more, but at the same time, certainly people, depending on how big your event is, if you
Right.
wanted it at the town beach, they could certainly park over at the waterfront and walk over as well,
okay.
so.
So I think it's just a matter of us figuring out which one, because then he did mention too that Arrive is more of a gradual
Mhm.
into the water,
It
and
is.
then the town beach has more of a drop off, so I think making that decision too, do we really want it to be a plunge?
It's in the title.
Right, yeah, so that, that was something, those are two things that I think we need to figure out, like what makes the most sense. It's not going to be like an open to the public type thing, it's gonna be just internal with alumni, current families and folks like that, so we'll try to control the numbers and the messaging around that. And it would just be a fundraiser event, so whatever money's raised, obviously would just go right back into the program. I don't know what the numbers will look like. We did talk about, depending on how many participants at a time, we would do it in waves. So if they said, only 10 or 12 at a time can go in. Because the other thing that got brought up, because I know we talked about volunteers last time for lifeguards, but if lifeguards aren't cold water certified, if there's a difference between that for that type of rescue, I don't know. I mean, if the winters are kind of what they have been, I feel like the water hasn't really gotten too bad. But
If like 20 people go in at once and then 40 need saving, and there's only one.
yeah, so I think there's something to think about in terms of that, obviously the fire chief said that they would have their rescue crew and things like that, but in terms of having a lifeguard on site, two of them, are they even qualified to assist with something?
So I know the certification of all of our lifeguards, at least the ones we have in town, plus the ones that I know that work over at Orchard Hills, and they're just the standard Red Cross certified. And I don't know if that covers, I don't know.
I bet even in a mild winter, that's cold water.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a shock to the
I
system.
bet Whatever they call cold water, I bet
Mhm.
it's that. Even in a mild winter, you know what I mean?
Yeah. When did the student council do theirs?
They did it at Arrive Lunenburg, right?
Yeah, and like I feel like it's like March,
Okay.
they do it. I don't know anything about, they used to do it at the Cape on this big whole weekend thing.
Yeah.
So it's new that they did it here, I don't
That
know
they did it
anything
here,
about the specifics.
One thing you may want to ask about, if you decide to investigate Arrive Lunenburg further, is ask them what their weed situation is. And I say that in the nicest way possible for our town beach. We have a considerable amount of weeds,
Okay.
shortly after you get in. I don't know how those would feel in the bitter cold, if you would even feel anything anyway, but if they, you know, if they have more of a gradual entry into the water, it's possible that their weed situation might be much better
Okay.
than where we are, and that may help make your decision too.
Good point.
And then the waiver, there was a standard one from the town that we could use, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and how do I get that?
I can get it for you.
Although if it's gonna be at Arrive,
If it's gonna be at Arrive, we
They're
don't
gonna have
need
their
it.
waiver.
They'd have
Okay,
their
so
own.
only if
Yeah,
we're
but-
doing it through, I mean, I would assume that we would still wanna have a waiver of our own.
Yeah.
Just because they are participating in something.
So I would say that if you, as the Boys and Girls Club, end up doing it at Arrive Lunenburg, that you, as the Boys and Girls Club, you actually might want two releases, regardless of where you do it. That would be up to your legal counsel to decide, whether or not you need a release for, yourselves as the Boys and Girls Club, and then either the town or Arrive Lunenburg. But either way, Arrive Lunenburg, I can't imagine them not requiring some sort of release.
And then the person that was in charge of the student council one, I had their email, but I think I had recorded it wrong. Could I have their name and their email again?
Do you remember who did it?
Is Don in the
Wasn't
student
it
council?
What? I think it was done.
I think that'd be Don.
Don Guerin?
I have Gearin, but I have a
Yeah.
B, so is
It's
it?
D,
okay.
D, as in,
Yeah.
yeah,
I believe Don is in charge
DAWN.
of student council, I think.
Yeah,
I know it's just student advisory or something anyway. so
Yeah, no,
she
she's
would get you
definitely
right.
student
Okay.
council.
So her name is Dawn,
Yeah,
Yeah.
DAWN,
yeah,
and then GEARIN.
so GEARIN.
Yeah, she's.
Okay. And then her email is D Gearin, right?
Her email is,
It should be
Lunenburg
Lunenburg
Schools,
that would be what they say.
Learning Lunenburg School. Schools,
Schools.
done,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, I'll reach out and see if there isn't some, if there's already a structure in place, I don't wanna recreate the wheel if they kind of have something. And then go from there.
Yep.
Were there any other questions that you might have for me? Any suggestions?
No, I don't, I mean, I think it's, I think I think it's more, you need to let us know if there's something, if you end up using the town beach, what you need from us. I can
Okay.
tell you if, at that time of year, our bathrooms will be closed because our water will be shut off.
Gotcha.
We will have access to the beach house if you so choose to go in through the beach house versus through the gate. We do still have electricity that time of year. We just don't have water. So either place, I don't think Arrive Lunenburg has bathroom facilities,
Okay.
at their beach either. So there'd be no bathroom facilities at either
Okay.
location.
Through the town beach, because I think one of the ideas that we had, and this is where the Polar and Dunk kind of came in for sponsorships, was seeing if Duncan would donate hot chocolate or
Mhm.
coffee or something. If inside of the beach house, would that be an area that we could do that?
Yep.
Okay.
And then it would just be take your trash, and we
Yes.
could go over it if you use it, take your trash when you leave. Assuming one of us, I'd volunteer if you need somebody down there from the park side, would be there to, open and close the building. And, do some general cleanup. So that is being left in the condition that we entered it in.
And we're still aiming for the 30th, November 30th, so I don't know if there's anything that would conflict or if it would just be.
No,
anything
no, we don't have any requests. It used to be.
Okay. Okay.
Did you want to have your kids' birthday parties down there, Tim? A little too
Not
chilly?
during that time.
Okay.
What day of the week is that? Is that,
It would be a Saturday.
it's a Saturday after
Yeah.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah, and that was kind of the idea, is that hopefully a lot of the alumni who have gone through the program would come home, so just trying to encourage them to get involved and reconnect, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it will be fun. I mean, I reach for the stars, but try to, figure out all the logistic stuff. So make sure if we're gonna continue it, that it's great and we
Yeah,
can
start-
add
Start
more.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would be really neat, so,
Awesome, well, thanks.
yes, of course.
Yeah, whatever you need, if it is the town meeting, just let us know.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Awesome,
So
thank
we'll
you.
just hear more from you.
Yes, I will stay connected. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, nice to
Come
meet you in
anytime.
person.
Okay,
I'll be in touch with you about the corner time. too.
Yeah.
all right, the next on the agenda is the grant updates. So the good news is that we have been tentatively awarded the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for the $1 million. So we, it has conditions, that, we have to approve the matching funds at the special town meeting in November. We'll talk about that warrant article in a few minutes. But, you may recall that they were making us wait before to try to get this Army Corps of Engineer permit. And so they've kind of understood that that's logistically not gonna work. So they have basically gone ahead and said, here's the award notice, don't make it fully public yet. Don't have any fancy events or anything about it. But, it's conditional upon this contract being signed after town meeting votes to commit the funds to it. So that was good news. So, and it's, a very positive thing that we can, share at town meeting. Do you have any other?
I don't, I
grant-
haven't heard anything. We still have the ADA grant that's outstanding. I've not heard on that, and I think that's the only other
That's the
one
only
that's
one right now,
outstanding,
yeah.
yeah. And the Stanton grant, I actually tried to look a little bit ago. The Stanton grant's the dog park grant. It's one of the grants that we had at special town meeting almost 2 years ago now, when the town agreed to fund the money for us to keep moving forward. That was one of the ones on the list. They changed their dates though. So yeah, so that's where I'm trying to figure out now when those
There's
dates
a
are.
rolling grant. So you could apply anytime, but the sooner the better, because you'd have better chance.
I didn't see that it was a rolling grant.
Okay,
It wasn't open. The last time I looked, it wasn't open.
okay.
And then it was like they suddenly changed it to like a December date or something like that. So I need to go back and look. And that's one of those grants that I don't fully understand yet. It's just, I know that it's one that we should apply for. I just don't fully understand how it all works. So.
Mhm. I applied for that one years ago for the town of West Boylston. We didn't get it, unfortunately, but yeah, I do remember it was it was different grant application.
Yeah,
The T-Mobile grant too, but I think we talked about that. Once we're rolling, identifying a piece that we would use the.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and Dave Passios had mentioned this, I think it was our last meeting, that, we do now have that grant program where we can get assistance through the town manager's office for applying for grants. So I haven't had that conversation with him yet. So.
Is that just having a resource there? That can help split these?
Well, I need to speak with him to get the full parameters. Is it a case of we have to go through them? And by doing so, it, provides us that extra resource? Or, is it you don't have to, but you're on your own if you don't, type thing?
Right.
So I'll report back on that by our next meeting.
Or do they help identify
Opportunities for funding.
other grants?
yeah,
I don't know what how specialized.
I am not sure.
They are and
either.
so forth, but they have resources to.
But that Stanton grant may be one that we could ask, 'cause so it's my understanding of that person is that they would be able to help look for grants, and I am looking at Dave right now, they help look for grants. They'd help apply, so in Karen's terms, they would be what Karen did for the last.
Right, and it would be
For
nice to get it off
grants.
of Karen's
Yeah,
shoulders.
it's just, I don't mind it, it's just, it's a lot,
It is.
but there still may be,
You're doing a good job.
thank you,
She knows more about it.
there's parts of those grants that whoever the town contracts with to do these, they may not even be qualified. The person that helped us with some of the pieces of our last 3 grants were architect designer,
Mhm.
people that had experience and like they wanted, slopes and all this other stuff, and it was way outside that scope,
Now
so.
you're refreshing my memory, because I think the Stanton one, you did have to include at least a schematic design of the proposed park.
So, no, because so this is where I have to fully understand it better. It's my understanding that they want in from the naked ground.
So
There's
pre-design.
like two phases with the Stanton grant. There's the phase that you go into where they do the design, and then there's the phase that you go in and they do the build. And I don't believe you can do the build without them doing the design. So that was my recollection of it, but I haven't seen much. I don't know if COVID completely changed the way they operate, because I literally can't even find their website right now.
Okay, all right.
So,
Well, let me
I'll keep
talk
looking.
to the interim town manager, and we'll figure it out, and I'll let you know what
Okay,
information I get from him. Okay, the next thing is the Marshall Park, the designer contract. So we finally officially have RDLA on board. They have started working. We have had a startup meeting with them, and they will be having every other Thursday, they will be doing their design team meetings. And that includes RDLA's folks, it includes Skanska people, it includes Chris Ruth. And Karen and I have been in on that, attending when we're able to. We won't always be able to attend. So the next meeting is tomorrow. So there will be times where we will need to bring stuff back to you all, so that as a commission, we can provide appropriate guidance, make decisions. So just want to let you know that that's underway.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's, it's.
and as I want to backtrack on, just because I made it public record that I couldn't find their page. As soon as I said that and I changed my search parameters, the StantonFoundation.org page came up. And when I click on that, it tells me they're currently accepting new design grants only. So design grants only through December 15th of 2023. So nothing's been updated, but that would be,
I think you're late.
I think we missed it.
well, that's what happened, because I think it was originally like, it had been June, and when it first was coming around, that June date was coming around, we weren't ready. But let me rephrase, I wasn't ready. And so I'm like, oh, I'll hit it the next time. And then the next time came and I'm like, oh, they changed it to December. So it threw off my whole paperwork grant idea thing. So,
But they moved
Yeah.
it to December last year.
they moved it to December 15th of 2023 last year. So, yeah. So we'll see what we can conjure up.
All right. More to come on that one.
Yes.
Okay, town meeting warrant articles. So in your packet, you have a couple of pages out of the draft warrant. So, we're looking at Article 5, which is our Marshall Park borrowing article. And, it's on the first page. So this article includes all the language that the state wants us to have, in terms of, committing that we're gonna fund the matching funds for the Linda Motor Conservation Fund grant. And that, we are still, continue to have Marshall Park be dedicated to park purposes. The summary that you see here, Carter asked that we prepare, so Anna Lockwood and I wrote this together. It's kind of lengthy, I'm not sure he's gonna wanna actually put the whole thing in, but it's in there now. If we need to, clip it down to a shorter version, we will. And then the next article that deals with us is Article 9, which is on the third page, kind of going over to the fourth page. And this is the one that we need to do that's going to change from the existing 53D Parks revolving fund to the 53E.5 type revolving fund. And we need to talk about what dollar limit we want to have set for the FY25 spending. We need to have, right now, the revolving fund that we all said, yes, let's start with this, it was $40,000. So, and then we were looking at if we do go ahead with paying for Angela to have extra hours as rec director / doing everything else. you know, we were looking at roughly $37,000 for that. So I had him tentatively put in $77,000 for this, you know, spending limit that we'd be looking at for FY 25, and it wouldn't start until July 1st, 2025. So I wanted to make sure that we're okay with that number.
I'm okay with the 77.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, all right, and, he wrote the summary because he has a much clearer understanding of what the state, you know, is requiring and how it works. So, I don't need anything tonight from you. I just wanted to make sure you're okay with these. But if you do have any questions about it, let me know. The third thing is that, you know, we had talked also about having an article where we would get approval to provide the extra hours to Angela. He said that article is not even needed. He said, you know, it just makes no sense, you know, so he is not gonna put that one on the warrant unless we, you know, totally say, yes, we want it, but, you know, he's right, it's really, you know, if our purpose was to be very transparent to the public, that's one thing, but it's not a necessary step in terms of process. So at this point, the draft warrant does not include that article, so everyone okay with that?
Mhm.
Yeah, if it's not necessary,
Okay.
Yes.
moves things along.
Right.
That's perfect.
Anita, are you and Anna gonna put together the presentation?
Yes,
Okay,
the,
What is the date of it?
November 12th.
so Anna, I asked her and she said she would help me put together the PowerPoint. Obviously, we'll bring it to you guys for comment, critique. I've got working crazy hours for the next few weeks, so as soon as the end of September comes around, she and I will start working on that. And we'll use the one used at the last town meeting
Mhm.
as a basis and just update it. And,
Okay.
yeah, so. Okay, let's see, doing good here. Okay, I don't have any chair updates. Does anyone on the commission have updates?
No.
No? Okay.
Well, I just want to throw it out there to everybody, and if they have stuff they would like to include in the project that I'm currently working on. I requested, all of the hours for our town beach staff. And I have not sat down, Anita and I are gonna sit down next week and talk about it. I did go into, our town accountant trying to figure out what's going on here, and Chris Ruth joined me one day, and, the salary line that was taken out of the revolving account is like $8,500, give or take a little bit, which Chris Ruth says is more than we've ever had taken out. So that sort of said to me, let's see what we can start pulling together. So I'm pulling together hopefully something to be able to present to you guys, you know, probably in December, once town meeting's over, that will show what we had for hours, how the beach is staffed. I'm trying to get from Angela things like, what's the last check-in that we've had on a Sunday afternoon at the beach? Because we're open from 12 to 6. Do we need to be open 12 to 6? Same thing on Saturdays, we're open 11 to 6. Or something, whatever it is, you know, sort of go through all of that and start making a better picture of what our demand is, what our beach usage is, to try to create the policies that best fit for what we need. And I think that will help in, you know, as we look at, fees and, everything that comes with that. I have all the information on swim lessons. So if there's anything that any of you would like to see included in this, just let me know. It doesn't have to be tonight. If you think about it and you're like, oh, I'd like to know this, just send me over a message and I'll get that information and include it in trying to make heads or tails of some of this stuff was interesting, because I didn't realize how the town did their actual, like, our lifeguards, for example, when you look at their time cards through FY 24, there was an actual week and then there was an estimated week, which meant the next time around, you had an adjustment for the estimated week. Maybe it rained and they couldn't work those hours. Now you got this estimate, then you got their actual, and then you have.
That's how they're paid.
Yeah, that's how they were through FY 24. I think that just changed this year. So as I'm like looking at all this stuff, I'm like,
For the
wow,
better?
for the better, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely for the better,
With 48 hours notice of the employees.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's from the better on my end at least, but it's, it's still, like, I'm looking at all this paperwork spread out at an appointment I was at with my father-in-law, and I'm like, I have, like, didn't even know where to start. So if you guys think of anything, let me know, and I'll include it, in my, presentation that I made to you.
Understanding of what hours are actually staff, so
Mhm.
how early is someone, how early is the first person showing up?
Right.
How
Yeah.
late is the, last
Yeah.
person there, and when are they leaving? I guess that's the other, which is probably hard to capture, I suppose, when they leave, but, those people that, the last check-in is at 4:30, are they there till 6, or are they leaving at
Right.
5:30, or are they leaving at 5, like, that's what.
Right.
I don't know how we
So,
capture
Um,
the
we
leaving
don't,
part,
we don't
but-
check, yeah, we don't have the leaving part, so we'd have to make some estimates, but I think I have enough ins with a variety of our lifeguards of the past few years, and I think just saying to them, what's the average length of somebody staying? Do you remember closing down
Hmm.
more times than not at 6 o'clock with nobody there?
Are you taking
that's-
people off the beaches?
Right, exactly,
right, right.
exactly.
If so, how many?
And there'll always be that off day where you have like a
Yeah.
family of 10 that show up at 5 o'clock and they're there till 6, but I can't imagine
Especially
that's
if
a
we've had
common
rain for a
occurrence.
few days and then we
Yeah.
get a one really nice day, there's gonna be
Right.
higher usage.
Yeah,
So,
so could be compiling all that. So again, if you have anything, just let me know.
thank you for doing that.
I don't know if it's a chair update, but where were we with the sound for the beach?
I'm meeting with the, sign people. I reached out to him last week. I said either the end of this week or the beginning of next, and he said he's always in his office, just show up.
Nice.
So I will do that.
Jim, what is doing or something?
No, add a sign out of Fitchburg, I think it was.
Okay.
I had the 300th anniversary meeting the other, last week, Monday night, a bunch together, last week. That's Monday. So I was realizing it's too early to really kind of plan anything and really kind of get the ball rolling, but they will be, just from a park standpoint, looking to identify space for events and things, just so we have that. So they're invested in things moving along. And I think that was kind of the impression that I walked away with a little bit. They'd love to
So just brainstorming right now.
brainstorm right now, but they were curious, like, Marshall and down, or, there's some investment there in terms of, hoping that there's viable space for events and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well, good. Okay, minutes. Karen sent a bunch of minutes.
I did. I don't think anything in front of me, doesn't look at my laptop.
I looked them over and they seemed fine to me.
They almost been to me.
yeah, it's fine.
I don't remember the dates of them. Let me see.
Yeah, I can grab it. I'm just trying to get into my,
The one I was anxious about was the August 21st one, but that's not ready yet.
that's not ready. And that's the one that,
Has to have
I will
special
make
language.
sure that, the language that I drafted is the language that
Yeah.
I'll
gets in there.
substitute it out. It wasn't worth trying to go back and forth with her, and I'm just gonna wait for it to come in and I'll add mine.
Okay,
And so everybody knows that the language that we needed for it was for,
the
RDLA.
RDLA contract, the town manager needed to have like a true copy of the vote that taken by this group to award the contract to RDLA.
Yep.
So Karen put together, as clerk of the commission, she put that together for the interim town manager, so we'd have it. But he said that exact same language has to be in the minutes, the official minutes, so.
all right, so the pending minutes that I have, are,
It says August, but it's August 14th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah, so the minutes that I have are February 29th, 2024, March 27th, 2024, July 31, 2024, July 16, 2024, and August 14th of 2024.
Motion to approve the minutes.
You want a second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great, thank you. Now we have other business, upcoming meeting dates. So our next regular meeting would be in October third week, which would make it the 16th. I will be away. But if we can get a quorum with the rest of you, I think we should still go ahead and have that meeting.
Or do you wanna move the meeting?
So so it would be October the 16th.
That Wednesday.
Are you here on the 23rd? That work? I'm not opposed to the 23rd, so I'm coming the week prior, which is
Which is the
Flip.
bad week for, I mean, yeah, I don't have any problem with
Which I can-
moving
I'll
it,
be
if
here.
you wanna move it so you can be here.
I'm just wondering now about, well, we've got our backup plan, hopefully. If the finance director will approve it for invoices. Yeah, I mean, I'm here the 23rd. Will that work for everyone?
Works for me.
All right, so we're gonna aim for the next regular meeting to be October 23rd. I will let Chris and Angela know
And I'm requesting a Zoom link right now.
in the room.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay, now, other business. Do we have any announcements? Other than what we've already talked about? No? Okay. Let's go to public comment. Any public comment? Okay. All right. Any? And board comment, we already reviewed, unless there's anything else? Okay, then we can call for an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn at 8:25. That's what it says. Yeah, 8:25.
8:29, yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's early.
Thanks, guys, I appreciate it. Hopefully my sister will still be awake.